So then, we are back with the more understanding from the renewed covenant from the Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation is from the original documents of the Hebrews of old, from the time of Israel, from the prophets of Yahweh, and Yershiyahu, and then Ezekiel, Daniel. Those are a few names that we can mention. And Yershiyahu is also a prophet, where then he was very important, and he described then the earth when it's renewed after the autumn feast. There is a section in the 66th chapter where it states then Yahweh coming and then providing the earth with justice, and then a fire coming from him and consuming those who are then sinful. Speaks of then the shower of sulfur when the earth then in its final moments closes this existing age. A bit later then Yahweh himself speaks, and he stated then his people and plus the Gentiles would be then in the earth, in a new earth. And then these people would be then satisfied by maintaining the holy mikras. For instance, from Shabbat to Shabbat, and from a lunar view to the other lunar view, he's speaking of seasons and also of holy feasts. So then, if you are a person who you are never exposed to the understanding of the new earth, you would be very surprised how important the Torah is. Because in the Torah you find then in the 23rd chapter of Leviticus the holy mikras, or the holy feasts. And as Yahweh said, then the nations would come to him to worship him at the capital of the earth. So then this means that the feasts are then in place, as they always were, because we are speaking of then an area of the holy city already engaged in the holy understandings of the prophets. So then, when you begin to read the 66th chapter, and then you begin to read the area where then it states, and it shall come that from a new lunar view to another lunar view, or from one Shabbat to another Shabbat, every flesh shall come to worship Yahweh at his holy place. So it gives you then the understanding of then the feasts that there is available today, in terms of a set of the feasts. For instance, the spring feast, autumn feast, these are going to be observed in a new earth. To name a few, he simply said from a Shabbat to another Shabbat, from a lunar view to the unlunar view. What was then the sanctification of the lunar view? It was a feast. And many others that were then part of. When there was a lunar view to another lunar view was the starting of the months. So then we begin to understand the whole feast, they have a specific purpose. Meaning from time to time it is giving you then seasons. From time to time they would come and worship at the mountain. So if you're a person that were never involved with the holy feasts, and you don't understand what it is, you don't like the Torah, you don't study the Torah, this is what is going to be taking place when a new earth is established. Read it for yourself, 66th chapter of Yershiyahu. Because the fire that comes previously speaks of then the closing of the age, where the shower of sulfur then comes and destroys the ungodly. Then the earth is rebuilt. Then comes the city from heaven, establishes in the earth, becomes the capital of the world. And then from a Shabbat to Shabbat, they're going to observe the feasts. Because it would be then a reminder of what the Messiah did for us. People always are going to remind themselves what the Messiah has done. Don't think the people are simply going to forget the feasts. No, they're going to maintain them. Because throughout generations in eternity, then people understand what the Messiah did. The reminder of from time to time observing the holy feasts. However, the junky part of it, whatsoever was caused then pain and disaster in those situations, well, they're going to be then removed, but the feasts, they're going to remain. So then if you're a person that does not believe in the Torah, he does not understand the holy feasts, what are you going to be doing then when the new earth is established? It's precisely what Yahweh is speaking through the prophet. From a lunar view to another lunar view, from month to month. Month to month, Shabbat, Shabbat, they would come and worship. He's speaking of the holy feasts. Perpetual or eternal. From time to time, spring feast, autumn feast, they would come and they would enjoy themselves of what the Messiah did for them. And then resume daily living. This is what it means. This is what Yershiyahu saw. He saw in his spirit. And then they would plant vineyards and no strangers would come and steal from them and such. This is when the new earth is already established. So it's very important in studying the holy feasts in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. The spring feast and then the autumn feast. So then when you begin to read the understanding from Hebrews, the 11th chapter, then you find Yershiyahu explaining those details to the Levitical priests so they can resume the second services. So then they understand what then is going on outside, because the people outside are going to be then preparing themselves for the autumn feast. This is precisely what the people are doing at the moment. But then the holy cities must return. Please stay tuned, much more coming up.